Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Jordan at Afterburner Automation, and today we're going to be walking through the log to file package. By the end of this course, you should be able to use the log to file package to create TXT and CSV files, and you should also understand how you might use this package to create less common file types as well. This package is called log to file because its one purpose is to log data into a file. The simplest use of this package is to log text into a text file, called a TXT file, but it can also be used to log to CSV, XML, JSON, and other file types as well. If you don't know what those file types are, don't worry. I'm going to go over all of these file types as you need them throughout these developer courses, and I'll be explaining the basics of CSV files as well. If you haven't already, go ahead and log into the control room and then navigate to the automation section on the left sidebar. Now that we're in the automation section of the control room, let's navigate to our Citizen Developer folder that we've been using and create a new subfolder called Log to File 101. As a reminder, to create a new folder, you just need to highlight the Citizen Developer folder, click the Create Subfolder icon to the right, and enter the details of the new folder. Once you've created the Log to File 101 folder, we're ready to get our hands on with the new package. Let's start by creating a new bot within our new Log to File 101 folder by either using the Create New dropdown on the top right-hand side of the screen, or by clicking the Create Bot icon on the speed bar. I'm going to be showing you how to append to existing files or overwrite them, so we'll keep with our naming convention and call this one CD06-log to TXT. Then click Create and Edit to get to the RPA workspace. I'll again be switching to list view since that's what I like to use. For this bot, let's say we want to get the user's name using the prompt package and then thank them for using our bot. While it's running though, we also want to log the start time, the user's name that we get from the prompt, and then the end of the bot. So let's start with getting the user's name through a prompt, which you should already be familiar with from the Prompt 101 course. We'll go over to the Actions sidebar and then scroll down to the prompt package. Click on the caret to expand it, and then drag over the prompt for value command. We'll set the window caption as the bot name, CD06-log to TXT. Then we'll set the prompt message to please enter your name. Finally, we'll assign the value to the default variable, which will be either sample string or prompt assignment. Then we can print the name to the screen by using a message box. Again, I'll head over to the Actions sidebar, scroll up to Message Box, open it up, and drag that over just below my prompt command. In the Message to Display field, I'll put hello and a space. And then I'll press F2, or click on the X in parentheses to bring up the Insert a Value window. I'll select sample string from the dropdown and press Yes Insert, and then we'll see our sample string variable pop up in our message field. Let's run this to test it out. The prompt appears asking for my name, which I'll type into the field now. When I press OK, the message box appears saying, "Hello Jordan," which is just what I told it to do. Now let's close the message box and then the success window, and we'll add some logging. We want to add logs for the start and end of the bot, as well as one in the middle that tells us the name the user gave the prompt. Let's start with the log for the start of the bot. We can do this by heading over to the Actions sidebar and scrolling to the Log to File package. Then drag the Log to File command just before our Prompt for Value command. You'll see the Log to File options appear in the right sidebar, starting with File Path. This is the path to the file that we want to log to, and we can either type in the path or click Browse to select a file that already exists. For now, let's click Browse. This brings up a file selection window that we can use to browse around our computer for the right file. Since we don't already have a file to log to, let's quickly create a new one. I'm going to go to the desktop folder and then right-click on the main area to bring up a menu. I'm going to hover over New so that some more options appear, and then I'm going to click on Text Document. You'll see a new document appear in the main section of this window ready to be renamed. I'm going to name it Log, and then press Enter or just click somewhere else so that it finalizes that name. Then we need to make sure we click on that file to have it selected, and then press Open. Now we're back in the RPA workspace, and you can see that our file selection is in the file path field. One thing to note about this command: we clicked the Browse button and used the right-click button to create a file for us to select, but we didn't necessarily need to do that. If I knew that I wanted the file to be stored on the desktop, I could have just manually typed that file path into the file path field, and the log to file command would have created that log.txt file if it didn't already exist. Either way, now that we know where we want this file stored, we need to fill out the Enter Text to Log field with the data we want to see. We want to log the start of the bot, so I'm going to fill it out with bot start in all caps. Below that field is a checkbox for the append timestamp option. This is kind of a misnomer because if we check this box, it'll actually prepend, not append, the date and time ahead of the text we logged. That can be really useful for a log file like this, so I'll go ahead and check it. Below that field is the when logging option, which asks if we want to append to an existing file or overwrite the existing file. Appending will add our text as a new line at the end of the file, so if we were to run this command multiple times, our log file would keep growing and storing everything we log into it. If we were to select overwrite, then it'll delete our original file and make a brand new one with our text in it every time it runs. Since we want to see all of the text that we log, let's keep this set to append. Finally, there's a drop-down menu where you can choose the encoding of your log. Encodings are basically different ways that the computer can translate binary numbers into the letters that you see on the screen when you type. I would highly recommend that you leave this as ANSI or whatever default value you see, unless you know that you need to use a different one. So now that we have our bot start log, let's build a bot end log as well. Instead of bringing in a new command though, I'm just going to copy paste our bot start log file. But before we do that, we have to click somewhere else on the screen so that our log to file command on line 1 actually gets filled in with the values that we gave it. Now, let's go to the 3 dots to the right of the command and select Copy Action. I can then click on the 3 dots next to the message box command and select Paste After Action to put a copy of our log to file command right after the message box. This is helpful because we don't have to choose the file path and other options again. Instead, all we need to do is change our text to log field from bot start to bot end. The last log we wanted was the name that we get from the prompt. We already have our log to file command copied, so let's paste it just below our prompt for value command. I'm going to do this by clicking on the prompt for value command and then pressing Ctrl V, which is the hotkey command for pasting the copied command. If we wanted to use hotkeys to copy the command, we would use Ctrl C. But now that we have our middle log pasted, let's change the text to log section. I'll go ahead and delete our bot start text and replace it with the user entered and a space. Then I can use F2 or the X in parentheses to insert our sample string variable from the prompt for value command. That finishes up our bot, so let's click Run and see what happens. You'll notice that the prompt appears almost immediately because the log to file command is actually happening behind the scenes without any visual indication to us. Before we move on, let's go to the desktop and open our log.txt file. you'll see the date and time in parentheses. This is the timestamp that we appended by checking that checkbox. You'll also see the text we logged, bot start. Let's close this file and go back to our bot. I'll go ahead and type my name into the prompt and then click OK. Again, the message box appears without any indication that we logged anything. Before we move on, let's minimize this window and open up that log.txt file again. Now we see our second log line right after the first one, and it shows the user entered Jordan. That looks good, so let's close log.txt and then close the message box. Our bot ends, but it should have added one more line to log.txt. So let's minimize this one more time and open it up again to take a quick look. You should see all three log lines here in with timestamps: bot start, the user entered Jordan, and bot end. Once you're done examining your logs, let's close this file and then go back to Chrome. Close the bot success message and then close the RPA workspace so that we're back in the control room. Now, let's learn a little bit about using the log to file command to overwrite files and create CSVs. In case you don't know, CSV stands for comma-separated values, and the data in them are literally a bunch of values separated by commas. These files can be opened in Microsoft Excel as well, but Excel will automatically split your data into different columns based on where the commas are. I'll show you how that looks once we build this next bot. For this bot, we're going to build a file that holds two employee names and ID numbers and stores them in a CSV. We'll also have a header row with column names of name and ID so that we know what's in each column. We'll use prompt for value to ask for the employee names and log to file to log them and some ID numbers to a CSV. To make this a little easier, instead of starting a new bot, let's copy our cd06-log to txt bot and rename it as cd07-log to CSV. Once you have that copied and renamed, go ahead and open it up. We can see all of the commands we'd already built from our last bot. Just so we don't get confused, let's delete the last three lines. To do that, let's click on the log to file command on line 3. Then hold the Shift key and click on line 5. This allows us to select all of the lines between the two that we clicked on. Then press the delete key. We know that we need to start by logging a header row, so let's open our log to file command on line 1. The first thing we need to do is change our file path so that we're logging to a CSV. The quickest way to do that is to change the TXT at the end of that file path to CSV, so that now we're logging to log.csv. Then we need to change our text to log. Remember that CSV stands for comma-separated values, so let's replace our old log text with name, comma, ID. We can also uncheck the append timestamp checkbox, because this will put a date and time in the exact same column as our name column, which we don't want. We'll leave this as set to append to existing log files for now, so that I can show you the difference between appending and overwriting a little bit later. Now, let's take a look at our prompt command on line 2, which is going to ask the user for their name. First, we need to change the prompt window caption to cd07-log to CSV, so that we know which bot is asking for this info. Then, we can change up our prompt message. We're going to ask for two employee names in this bot, so let's change it so that it says enter employee number 1's name. We can leave the assign the value to a variable option set to sample string. Now we need to log the employee's name and ID number to our log.csv file. Let's copy our log to file command on line 1 by clicking on that command and then going up to the speed bar just above the main section. We can click the copy icon there and then click on the prompt command on line 2. To paste it, we'll again go up to the speed bar and click the paste icon to put it just below that prompt command. For this log to file command, we can erase what we have in the enter text to log section, and then press F2 to insert a variable. Select the sample string variable again, and press Yes Insert to put that into text to log field. Now, let's add a comma immediately after that variable. And then 001, which will be our employee ID. The last thing we need to do is get the second employee's name and log it as well. Lines 2 and 3 do most of that already, so let's copy both of them by clicking on line 3, then holding the Control key and clicking line 2. This lets us select more than one line of code at once. Once you have both selected, copy and paste them using any method that you prefer. I like using Control-C and Control-V, so that's what I'll use. Now, one thing you might notice is that when we paste our commands, they wound up pasted in between those selected commands. That's because the last command I clicked on was line 2, so when I pasted those commands, it pasted them after the last command I had selected. Not to worry though, all we need to do is select both of those commands and then drag them below the original two where they belong. Our prompt command is already set up just how we like it, so we just need to change the message to read enter employee number 2's name. The log to file command on line 5 is also basically set up how we need it, but let's change the ID number to 002 so that they'll have different ID numbers. And now we're ready to go, so click Run when you're ready. We'll eventually see our prompt pop up, asking for employee number 1's name, and I'll just put my name in here for this one and press OK. It'll then ask us for employee number 2's name, so let's put a different name this time. I'll put my lovely wife's name, Rachel, and then press OK. The bot will end successfully, and we can go ahead and close that success message. Now we can see how our log file looks by going to the desktop and opening that log.csv file. The file should automatically open in Excel, and we can see right off the bat that we built a nice clean spreadsheet with our header row showing the name and ID columns, and then each name and ID that we entered in the 2 rows below that. The only problem I see here is that Excel dropped our leading zeros for our ID numbers, so instead of 001 and 002, we have 1 and 2. This is actually due to Excel automatically detecting that this is a number and formatting it for us so that we don't have the zeros we don't need. This is definitely important to remember when you're using this command to log to CSV files, because Excel will automatically apply default formatting to it when you do that. Before we finish up though, let's pretend that we ran this bot and then we realized we made a mistake and need to rerun the bot to put different names into our log file. Let's close this log.csv for now, reopen Chrome, and rerun the bot to see what happens when we do that. When the first prompt appears, I'll put a different name, Jack, and then press OK. When the second prompt appears, we'll put a different name again, Jill. Once the bot ends, close that success message, minimize Chrome, and open up the log.csv file to see the results. You'll see that our original logs are there, and then it repeated the header and added our 2 new employees. That's because we have all of our log to file commands set to append to existing files. Let's close this file and go back to Chrome and set it up so that it overwrites the file when we run the bot. We'll do that with a really simple change to the log to file command on line 1. Click on that command, then change the when logging option from append to overwrite. When this log to file command runs, it will erase everything that's currently in the log.csv file and overwrite it or replace it so that we'll get a new file each time this bot runs. We'll leave the other two log to file commands as append so that they'll add their values to our header from line 1. If we were to set them to overwrite, then each log to file command would overwrite the previous file and we would wind up with just one line in log.csv. So let's test this one last time. I'll click Run, and once the first prompt appears, I'll type Jordan into the first prompt. When the second prompt appears, I'll type Rachel. Then the bot will end, and we can minimize Chrome, open up log.csv, and see how it looks. Once that opens, we can see that all of our previous data is gone and has been replaced by our 3 logs that ran just this last time. If I were to run the bot again, it would again overwrite this file and we would only have 3 lines, just like this one. And that's it. Now you know all of the details of the log to file package. How to append to an existing file, overwrite an existing file, append timestamps, and create CSVs. You might also have some ideas for how you can log to different text-based file types like XML or JSON files, but I'll go over those in a future course. You also learned how to use this command with the output from the prompt package, and that might have sparked some ideas of how you might use it with other commands as well. Just remember to be extra careful when you choose between appending and overwriting with your log to file commands. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. For more RPA training, check out the next video here, or watch everything in order right here. Subscribe to my channel for updates on new content, and become a patron to get access to personalized RPA support. But until next time, I'm Jordan at Afterburner Automation, and I hope this helps you build better bots.